Hey everybody, this is David, Carolina Luthier, and here today with a fairly straightforward, simple project. Should just be one video here, but doing something I do quite a bit of here, which is crack repairs, repairing cracks on an acoustic guitar. We have here a pretty nice 34 Martin 0017. It's kind of a player guitar. It's had some work done to it. It's a replacement bridge, replacement nut, but it's a good solid guitar, great player. I've always liked these little small body 17s. Always have a lot more sound you expect out of a guitar that small. But anyways, this guitar's it's solid, but it has a couple cracks, one on the top, one on the back. I've already repaired the top on the crack, and I'm going to walk you through repairing this crack on the back of it. It's a very common issue with acoustic guitars, especially older ones, and 90% of the time it comes from humidity, dryness. I mean, this is late December. We're a couple of days away from New Year. It gets pretty cold and dry around here in that time of year, and that wood dries, it shrinks. Something's got to give somewhere, and a lot of times they crack. That's why it's real important to keep humidifiers in your case or control the humidity in your house with these guitars, because this is what happens. But this is a repair I do quite a bit. It's a fairly simple job as long as the crack's not too bad, not too big, and this is a fairly straightforward one, so I figure it's a good chance to show you how that's done. Okay, so you can see what we're working with here. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but I can feel it with my finger right here. We have a crack coming from the edge, running to right about here. And the crack goes all the way through. I can see it on the inside of the guitar as well. And we're going to have to pump some glue into this, put a cleat underneath it to reinforce it, and clamp this in place. Now, if the crack was on the top, a lot of times we can just use some sort of a clamp. You get big long sound hole clamps you can reach to it. But here on the back, or if it was on the side, you can't do that. So what we have to do to get inside this crack and get a cleat is we will use this thing. And this is just something I made from a block of wood and a banjo tuner. Use a guitar tuner as well, but I'm a banjo guy, so I have plenty of these around. And you can buy a tool like this from StewMac that's made from plastic. I made my own. I have several of these. And what this does is we will run a wire through the crack, the inside of the guitar, and we will have a cleat, just a little dime-sized piece of wood that will be strung on that wire with some glue on it, and some sort of a block behind that with the wire tied off, and that'll run through the crack, through this tuner, and we tighten the tuner. It'll pull that wire, pull that cleat and that block up, which will help to pull this flush, because it is a little bit raised. I can feel it. And just pull that cleat and hold it in place. And we'll pump some glue into this crack as well before we even do that. So go ahead and get started on it. The first thing we want to do here, we get this prepped up. We want to poke our wire through our crack, and I like to use, usually like the B string from an acoustic guitar set, to like a 25, 26, something like that, or maybe the G string from an electric guitar set. I usually use like an old string. You want it thick enough that it won't break when you pull tension on it, but the thicker you make it, the bigger your hole you're going to have to touch up. So that works out about right. And we'll put this kind of centered in the middle of this crack, and just kind of work it through the crack. Through the hole we got started right there. And that'll be where our cleat will be. Okay, lay that aside. Now I gotta get some glue down into this crack, so I'm just gonna dampen this a little bit. Helps that glue to, it cleans it off and helps the glue kind of flow in there a little bit better. An old lacquer will get a little bit cloudy when you put water on it like this, but it will go away as it dries. I'm just going to use Titebond for this repair. I like to use high glue on these old guitars, but there's no way you can do this quickly enough for high glue. And this is not a joint we need to take back apart at some point. This is pretty much going to stay solid, so there's no point even worrying about the joint being reversible. So we just put a bead of glue along the crack here. And we'll take our air gun with a suction cup. Using very little pressure, I'm just kind of feathering this grip here. You might want to turn the pressure down. And we're just kind of pumping it down. Yeah, that suction cup on the end, the air, there's nowhere to go except through the crack, and it will carry that glue with it. Just kind of work our way down one end of the crack to the other. Back up again. Now, Titebond is water soluble until it cures, so that will wipe right off with a wet rag. I look inside the guitar, I see glue oozing out the other side of the crack. That means we're all the way through, which is what we want. Okay. All right. So now we stick our wire back through. Find our hole. Feed our wire through there. The wire comes out the other end, comes out the sound hole here. And we'll take our cleat. You can see this is paper thin, about the size of a dime. Needs to be small. I make these ahead of time, so I didn't. Just take that cleat. It's very important with cleats, if you make your own cleats, that they're very small. I've seen some big ones that people have done that just suck the sound out of the guitar. It doesn't need to be much. Just put a little bit of glue on that. Okay, there's a hole drilled through this, and I'm just going to thread that wire through that hole. And we'll take this little block here, just a piece of scrap, something with a hole through it. You can use a nut. This is some kind of gun part, I believe. You know, I'm a gun guy too. And just kind of tie that wire to that. Just loop that around a couple times. And then we pull that tight. I check in there and make sure it's lined up right. I make mine kind of a square shape because I want to be able to see which way the grain line's running. Because you want the grain to be kind of running in a slightly different direction from the grain lines of what you're gluing to. That helps keep it from splitting again. If this grain's running the same way, it's not really going to do you much good. good there. Yeah. Now I like to lay a piece of wax paper down before I put my clamp, just so any glue that oozes out will not glue my clamp to the top. If you use the one that's made by Stumac, it's supposed to not stick, so they don't really do this. Also just helps keep them scratching the finish. So we'll just poke a hole through that, thread it down, and thread the wire through our little tuner here. Get it somewhat tight. We'll snip the excess wire off. And we'll just tighten this here. Now we'll pull that crack pretty much flush. Wipe off any glue that oozed out. Some will ooze out and we'll have to clean up afterwards, but we try to minimize that. That's good to go as far as doing the crack. Now, this also separated along the seam here, which I know has nothing to do with the crack repair, but I'm gonna go ahead and fix that too. But as far as this crack repair, that's done. So we'll let this sit overnight, then we'll come back, take this off, and we'll have to touch up, finish a little bit, touch up our little hole that we poked with a wire, and this guitar will be ready to go. All right, so this is next day. This has been sitting overnight. Glue should be good and cured by now. Let's go ahead and cut this. There we go. Poke this wire through. Just reach in on the other side and grab it. Pull this out. And there we go. So we took our little block off with the cleat glued on the inside there. And we are solid. Now that left a little pinprick hole here and a little bit of glue. So we're gonna clean that up. We're gonna fill this little hole in, and then we'll lightly come back with some very fine sandpaper and some polishing compound to get rid of this excess glue. Fill that hole. I just got a little bit of just mahogany sawdust here. Pour some of that on there. Fill that hole with a little bit of dust there. And you're talking, this is a pinprick hole, it's just the size of that wire, so it ain't much. We'll take some stain. This is just Stumac's Nazareth mahogany, supposed to match the stain of Martin used. And just a dab in that hole. Gotta be careful with this stuff because this is alcohol based. None of the finish on these old Martins don't like alcohol. Just a little bit there. Just to stain that right there. Okay. Then we'll put a little bit of masking tape on either side of this crack. Always try to take some of the tack off because I don't want to peel up this old finish. Now we'll take some super glue. I like Zap-A-Gap. We're not going to drip this directly on it because super glue can really screw up your finish. Let's put a little bit in here. Poke a hole in that. So I'm going to put a little bit right there. I'm just going to put a little drop right where that hole was. And that dust we put down in the hole will soak it up. And that will harden. And once that's dry, we'll scrape that down and polish it with some real fine sandpaper, followed by some hand polishing, and you won't be able to tell that hole was even there. Now, if we had a really big open crack with lots of finish chipping around it, I'd run a bead of glue all the way down it just to fill in the crack and fill in the chipped out finish, because super glue will kind of flow together with nitro. But since this crack closed up very nicely, we're just going to fill in our little pinprick hole from our wire. So we're just going to let this sit for an hour or two. This glue fully cures, and we'll come back and polish this off. All right, now this has had time to dry. We're going to take and scrape this down. I have a razor blade. I just kind of run the edge along the corner of my vise to kind of bend that edge over. We have a nice scraper. You can feel a rough edge this way. I'm just going to scrape this down to the pipe, to the tape here. Then we'll come back and wet sand with some real fine grit sandpaper. Then hand polish this spot, and you won't be able to tell that anything has ever been done to it. Pretty much flush right there. We'll wet sand it. And wet sand with just a block with some very fine sandpaper. This is 1500 grit. And we'll start with this tape on here. And we'll take the tape off. we go. Now just take a little bit of polishing compound and shine this up a little bit. It's just an old rag soaked with, it's just saturated with polishing compound. If I need to add more to it, I will. I think we're good without having to add any to it. Just kind of blend this in here. You don't want to do too much because you don't want to lose the little bit of texturing that happens over time as lacquer gets old. So we're really only just kind of doing where we absolutely have to and just kind of blending it in around it. Done right, shouldn't be able to tell anything's been done. And that'll do. We'll just clean this off. And we'll touch up the crack I fixed on the other side and guitar will be good to go. All right, now we got it polished up. We'll show you up close what we've done here. You can faintly see a line right here, just barely. You can't hardly tell anything's been done. You can't feel anything. Don't see any difference in the finish. It matches perfect. And it's solid. This is not going to break here again. It'll crack somewhere else before it cracks here. And we'll just turn this over. Let me show you the other crack, which I've repaired before I did the video. Runs right along here on the top. These top cracks a lot of times can really have an adverse effect on your sound as well. You'd be surprised how much better a guitar sound once you repair these cracks. But anyways, that looks like I had to do it for this guitar. It's strung up, got tension on it, everything's held up good. So this guitar is ready to go. Well, I'm David, Carolina Luthier. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever, so you don't miss what I got next. I'll see you around.